now and finding the agenda because I'm absent-minded.
I just sent the latest agenda just about 40 minutes ago.
Oh, there it is.
When I asked
Spectacular.
the secretary.
You are on it.
The agenda is an always fluid thing to the last minute. Okay, so I'm Cynthia Spielman. Welcome to the Beacon Hill General Meeting. And I want to thank, as every time, Sean McMahons for hosting the Zoom meeting. Thank you, Sean.
Sure, we can just assume that going forward.
I just love saying thank you. I so appreciate it. So let's look at the agenda. There's some announcements. We're having a presentation from the Office of Historic Preservation. We're having a presentation by some applicants requesting a zoning variance. That was not in our newsletter. It happened at the last minute, so we block walked that area so that the near neighbors would come. We do that anyway on every case that we hear, so that they can vote. After we're having a SAFFE Officer. Oh, I'm trying to move it down with my computer. That's so funny. And then can you move it down? And then committee report. Can we, can someone make a motion to adopt the agenda or changes if you feel the need?
I'd love to throw in 2 sentences about the Neighbors Helping Neighbors Committee.
Okay. Right.
Should I put that in announcements or general, like general announcements, or where would you? Okay.
General announcements is great.
Okay. Thank you for doing that.
Sure.
Let's see. Okay, so can we adopt?
So
I move to accept the agenda as written, and plus Sean McMahon's request.
second.
Okay, can we vote? Aye.
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 Any nays?
Aye.
Can we look at, I know that we don't have, a lot of us don't have the newsletter in front of us, but I hope you've looked at the minutes from last month. Can we adopt those minutes or make changes?
Sure.
Move that we
I move.
accept them.
Okay, second, anybody second?
A second.
Okay, can we vote aye?
Aye.
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 Any against?
Aye.
Okay, I keep thinking that person's like nay. It's like, really? We've never had a nay. All right, so I'd like to, we had our fundraiser set up by Joe Tick for the Chicken and Pickle Give Back Night results. I'd like for Joe to talk about how successful it was.
Absolutely. I'm so sorry I'm not on video. I'm still leaving work right now, so I apologize, but it was great. Thank you to anybody and everybody who contributed, who was able to do a carryout meal or to go in and order food. It's very exciting that we were able to essentially just get a little bit of support from an organization in the neighborhood, and we raised $326. And they want us to do a photo op with the big goofy checks that organizations like to brag about donating to organizations. So so $326. Thank you everyone who participated, and we'll try to do another one, and hopefully we can actually go and meet at Chicken and Pickle and meet our neighbors when COVID numbers get a little bit lower and everybody's vaccinated. So thank you to all.
Thank you, Joe, for setting that up. That's a welcomed. We haven't been able to do any kind of fundraising, so that money is going to come in really handy. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to extend a thank you to Sarah Woosley and the staff of the Impact Guild and their help in making the post-disaster donation and delivery happen. And a big thanks to all of the Beacon Hill neighbors. That was an amazing experience to be like in an empty room and we think, okay, that's it. That's the end of the food. We can't help any more people and people are needing help. And people started arriving in cars. It was like a scene out of a movie. People bringing in food and hot meals and water. So I want to thank you. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, Sean?
I'm ill-equipped to do so. I was not directly involved with much of that. Sarah, Chris, Christina are probably the most knowledgeable in that area.
I'm guessing, do you want to talk about neighbors helping neighbors since that
Oh,
kind of ties in?
Yes, I certainly do. Thank you. So in the wake of that, we're wanting to make sure that we have thought ahead about ways to be able to connect the folks who are in need in some way or another with folks who have resources and are able to meet those particular needs. This is going to be ways to identify those needs, ways to identify the people who are able and willing to help, and then ways to connect those two. So we're basically putting together a temporary committee to talk through all that and just devise a plan of attack so that next time something rolls around, it won't be a scramble to put something together. It will be, let's swing our plan into action now kind of thing. So if you're interested, please let me know your email address and I will add you to the list that we're using to coordinate that. More than 2 sentences. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so a couple of announcements. The BHANA social, an in-person social will be Friday, March 19th at 6 o'clock. There'll be room for social distancing. Nobody's going to be packed in, and it's going to be at the, I didn't write it down, at Cool Crest. Kim, Cool Crest?
Yeah, Cool Crest has a big outdoor beer garden in the back and it's going to be there.
Okay, so I hope people can make that. It's free. We also have a District 1 Neighborhood Candidate Forum for City Council that night. It's put on by Tier 1, but it's District 1 neighborhoods, and 3 of the Beacon Hill people are on that committee. All of the candidates have accepted, so that will be on also March 19th at 7, and the details are in Facebook and in the newsletter. It's by Zoom. So we're going to ask questions specific to neighborhoods, things that are about neighborhoods. So I hope you can join us maybe after the social.
Can I break in and ask a question? You need to submit any questions in advance, right? Attendees are not asking questions.
Thank you for that. It's too unwieldy to do that at the time like we've done in the past. So we're asking all D1 neighborhoods, and I'm asking people in my own neighborhood to submit questions. And we're going to try to put those in buckets and ask questions that people are interested in. That will take priority as the questions that we have come in from community. So if you have any questions or things that you'd like to have them address, please. I can't promise your question will make it, but please let me know. Or Cosima or Jordan Gowie. We're all 3 on that planning committee.
Will that forum be taped? That Zoom call?
I would assume so. Yeah, I would assume so. And you can watch it. You can do it on Zoom. You can watch it on Facebook. So yeah. We also have a Beacon Hill movie night coming up. If you've never been to Beacon Hill movie night, it is so much fun. And it's Guardians of the Galaxy. Is that the name of the movie, Kim? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I've never seen it, so I'm looking forward to it. And that's going to be March 13th at the Linear Park at Michigan and Ellesmere at 7 o'clock.
Are there any weather issues? Because I think they're
A
expecting.
chance of rain. I
Yeah.
don't know. We'll just have to play it by ear. I didn't think to put a rain date in the newsletter. So, if it rains, don't come. The current forecast looks like the rain is in the morning and the afternoon, and then it's going to dry up, but we'll see. I mean, it's a bit granular, 4 days out, but
yeah. There'll also be a Tier 1 zoning workshop on Saturday, March 27th at 10 a.m. It is going to be the basics of zoning in your own neighborhood. So if you're interested in joining ZUD, which I hope you are, or you just want to know, like when we do these presentations, you want to be better informed, please, Zoom, that's a Zoom meeting. So come to that as well. The details are on Facebook, or you can call Cosima or I. We're also on that planning committee as well. There'll be BHANA social in person. Oh, sorry, I already said that. Okay, I guess that's it. So Treasurer, is there anybody else that has an announcement they'd like to make? Okay, so Treasurer's report, Diana.
Shown in the newsletter, our ending balance in February is $7,862.57. It was pretty slow month in February, not too much activity. We had $134 of expenses, which was toner expense, and then a $75 donation to the Benevolent Committee.
Great, wonderful, thank you. Okay, is Officer Sanchez here? I think I saw him. So I saw Officer Sanchez, our SAFFE officer.
Can I do a quick question on the treasurer's report?
Sure, of course.
Is it $134? You said $134 for toner. That's not how much toner costs.
No, I said $134 of expenses, which was $75 for donation and then toner.
Okay.
Okay. Officer Sanchez?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Affected. And I need to know where your head was at so that I don't make those same mistakes going forward. I don't wish to make that. Because we never had this conversation before.
Officer Sanchez?
Okay, yeah, I heard somebody else talking in the background, I guess. Okay, so I have some uniform crime reporting, a few stats that got requested for the Beacon Hill area. This was 2019 to 2020. We're going to go with the property crimes first. Burglaries were down. From 2019, there was a 34% decrease in burglary property crimes.
Wow.
Deaths was about 33.6%.
Deaths?
Yes, just any theft like
Thefts.
from the front yard, package theft.
Okay, and what was it again, sir?
It was a 33.6% drop. And then vehicle thefts were up just a little bit, 26%. It was about 15 in 2019 and 19 in 2020. And then something else I kind of noticed that I think I'll be, I guess it's kind of good, is emergency detention. So emergency detention is kind of, with the homeless in the area, this is kind of something that we struggle with, but yet we have a good unit that deals with those. And those were up 29%. So we had 31 in 2019, and in 2020 we had 40.
So
we are getting out there. Go ahead.
That was emergency, what did you call it?
Emergency detentions.
Okay, got it.
Yes. So it's basically getting certain individuals help mentally. Yes, and those were up. So we are contacting those homeless and the certain people in the area that need our help.
Okay.
The one we might want to kind of be, I guess, a little concerned about is the robberies. There was 2 robberies in 2019 that were confirmed, and in 2020 there was 11. So that's about a 450% increase, is what I'm reading.
Wow.
Okay. See what else. I'm kind of reading off my email and also going back and forth. So
what's the difference between a burglary and a robbery?
So a burglary is typically they break in your vehicle, steal miscellaneous items or your home. A robbery is when they make contact with you and they demand money from you, might make physical contact. Yeah, so that's burglary is usually there's no contact involved. It's burglary of vehicle and burglary of habitation.
Okay.
To make it simple, robbery just it's a confrontation with somebody. Yeah. Any questions regarding the UCR stats?
I do. So you see the trends of thefts and burglaries down and people being more confrontational and robbing people. What is that, gunpoint, or they?
Not always at gunpoint. If I come up to you and I say, hey, give me your money or I'm going to hurt you, or then that counts as a robbery.
Okay.
If I just, go up to you and, grab $20 from your hand, it's typically a theft.
So what do you make of the decrease in property robberies and the increase in human robberies? Like, what does that say to you that you can share with us?
Okay, my one of my sergeants is also here, and he was actually on the robbery unit, so he'll be able to touch on that a little bit more.
Hi, how y'all doing this evening?
Hi, sir.
My name is, how you doing? I'm Joe Barcena. I'm the new sergeant of the SAFE unit. I'm getting to work with Albert here, trying to figure out how the unit works as a whole. So, like you mentioned, I came over from the robbery unit, and the question I think you want to know is why was there a decrease in the property crimes and an increase in the robbery? Did I get that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. You look at a multitude of factors, started with the COVID, causing a lot of people to be home. More people at home tends to make it a little bit harder for the burglars and the thieves to find rich grounds to hunt upon, for want of a better term. So if they're home, they've got to look for other ways to try to, find that loot that they're trying to get for whatever reason. Usually it's a drug addiction or something like that. So if I can't get into an unattended building or an unlocked car or something like that where I can find property that's unattended, then I've got to find another way. So I see somebody standing in the street, give me your money. It may not necessarily be a weapon produced, it's just a threat. So like you were asking about the robbery, it's usually a theft with some element of violence, even though there's not necessarily a physical altercation. Excuse me, there is an element of fear or a threat that compels you to surrender your property. So because like I said, people home, these guys are out doing other things. Another thing to consider too is a robbery is not always necessarily predicated stranger on a unknown victim. It could be simply a domestic situation where two people living together, one sees somebody doing something on a cell phone that may seem suspicious. They think there's some type of outside the relationship activity going on. I say, let me see your cell phone. You say, no, I grab it, take your cell phone against your will. So therefore, by definition, I've committed a robbery. If that makes sense.
That does make sense. Does anybody else have any questions?
I would also add along those same lines that there are more people out jogging, out riding bikes, out walking because of the current COVID situation.
Can I get the spelling of your last name since I'm acting as secretary tonight as well?
Is that for me, ma'am, or for the gentleman that just?
Joe.
My last name is B. Right, my last name is B as in boy. A-R. C as in Charlie. E-N-A.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Badge number is 3353 if you need that as well.
Okay. Is there any other questions or comments? Well, thank you very much. It's much appreciated to hear what's going on in our own community. Facebook sometimes makes us think there's crimes continuously going on. And so it's nice to have the statistics.
Yeah, just real quick, I did see a comment about the gunshots. Does somebody have a question about that, about an increase in gunshots?
Yes.
Every day.
Okay, yeah, I mean, the citizens have been, the constituents have been, I'd get, not so much recently, but maybe middle to late last year about gunshots in the area, especially off, I want to say kind of Blanco, more towards a roundabout. And I'm kind of trying to look at the stats. Our system was a little bit down. I messaged the board about that.
The last 2 weeks have been pretty rough, kind of more in the middle of the neighborhood, like Mulberry and Grant.
Yes, it's looking like Wasatch, Michigan, Grant. There's a few calls there. There's a couple in the area. And when y'all look on the, I don't know how many of y'all are familiar with the LexisNexis, but when you try to work that system, it's for each call that comes out. So if it's one incident and 6, 7 people call, it's going to show 6 or 7 little bullets on here, if you will, for all those calls. So it might not be that many. It might be, especially if there's a lot in one little area. So I'm looking at one on Michigan and Wasatch, and they were all called in on the same day around the same time. So, you know, I would count that as one incident. And that's kind of what the UCR stats define later on in the year.
So are they mostly people, are they just firing their guns in the air? Are they shooting drive-bys? Are they shooting at people? What are the gunshots about?
Let me read the notes real quick on this Wasatch in Michigan. This was on February 11th. Called in about 10:50. Caller heard 5 gunshots, did not see anyone. Time lapse 3 minutes. Look at the next one. So, you know, a lot of the time, this isn't typical, but a lot of people they have a gun and they want to test it out and see, you know, if it works. They'll go in the backyard, or they'll go in the creek right there and just fire off some rounds. And you know, it's unfortunate, but that's kind of what they do, especially when, you know, alcohol might be involved, or later on in the evening. So it really depends. You know, people have disturbances, they get mad. I'm not saying it's in this area, but that could be a common theme with those gun disturbances.
So you're not seeing anything on there that's showing that people are saying that their house has been hit or cars have been hit or anything along those lines?
I'm reading some notes.
Sorry.
Another one time out. No. One of them heard a vehicle peeling off after the shots. And usually what they call in an information report the next morning, and it's like, oh, I realized my car got hit by, you know, someone who reported gunshots last night, or the house. And then it kind of goes from there. So it's not always going to come out right away where they see something, because it's, you know, late at night, they're not really looking around too much, or they don't think it's in as close to them.
But you're not seeing that on any of your reports, right?
No, I've been clicking on a few of these highlighted Rosewood and Beacon, you know, 10 minutes ago, heard nothing. And most of these calls have an end code, which is basically the officer wrote some notes. He didn't find anything that substantiated a criminal offense or anybody who wanted to make a report. I'll give you one more. It was around Summit and between Capital, Michigan. Officers went out there, 5 gunshots coming from behind C's house. C is a complainant. Time lapse 1 minute. And there's a couple of calls not found. Yes, sir.
Officer Sanchez, is the procedure then typically just to send an officer by to have a look and look around and see if they see anything, and talk to the person who called in the complaint if it's known who they are, or is there more to it than that?
Well, if they request contact, they will either call them over the phone if they request that, or they'll make, let's say 1130 West Summit, they'll make their address and talk to them. Most of the time, these calls are refused. So it's saying, hey, don't contact me. Just go by and see what you find if you find anything. Now, typically, if they find shell casings or something, they will call a CSI or UEDI, which is a Uniformed Evidence Detective, to come and collect the evidence, to collect the shell casings, take pictures, and write a report. And then that gets investigated later. Hey, did these shell casings match anything that was in the area, or, you know, any other cases in the surrounding neighborhoods?
Gotcha. But there's always an officer who comes out to just take a look around when one of these reports is called in then?
Yes, there's always an officer who goes by, you know, at least one, usually 2 though.
Great. Good to know. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Officer Sanchez, and thank you, Officer Barcena, for coming to our meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank y'all for the invitation.
Thank you.
Okay, bye-bye. So we have our presentation. You know, one of the issues that we're having in our neighborhood is vacant buildings and some of the problems that go with vacant buildings. And so here to talk about it from the Office of Historic Preservation is Derek Tulowitzki. I hope I got that right, on the Vacant Building Program.
Yeah, you got it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna borrow the share screen option here. I hope that's okay. Yeah, so hello everybody. Thanks for having me. Always happy to talk to neighbor associations about vacancy and you know, like economics of vacancy, and as you mentioned, some of the neighborhood issues that come along with that. Tonight I am also joined here by the case manager for the neighborhood, John Sanchez. So John will be on for most of this. I am mostly responsible for surveying. John is responsible for the case management. So just a heads up, you see on your screen here, we're going to go over the ordinance. We'll talk about standard of care. That's a very specific definition. So, we want to make sure that that is acknowledged. Survey and reporting, and then also the current vacancy data that I was able to pull for your zip codes in some of the neighborhood. So I'll pass it off to John here real quick.
Great, thanks, Derek. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, good. Just wanted to make sure. So as Derek mentioned, all major cities and urban areas do struggle with vacancy and the common problems that come with vacancy. So vacancy tends to lead to, vacant structures tend to have a high incidence of like code violations. They tend to attract criminal activity, vagrants. They tend to harbor, vermin. They're very vulnerable to fires. So, City Council realized that, San Antonio was not exempt from this, that we too have a vacancy issue, and what should we do about it? So in June 2014, they adopted a pilot program that would later become the Vacant Building Ordinance. But during its pilot, they decided to only have very specific parts of San Antonio be a part of the program. So they drew out a map, and it included all the historic districts in San Antonio. It included the downtown area, the central business district, all of the landmarks in San Antonio, and a half-mile buffer around the military installations. This is one of the reasons why the Office of Historic Preservation was given stewardship of the ordinance, is because of where the map was originally drawn in regards to the historic districts and the landmarks. In 2017, specifically January 1st, 2017, it was no longer a pilot program, and it became a defined ordinance for the city of San Antonio. They also expanded the zone considerably. So it went from maybe about 35 square miles to over 100 square miles. So besides the downtown area, the historic districts, the half-mile buffer around the military installations and the landmarks, it included neighborhood conservation districts like Beacon Hill. And they put a half-mile buffer around all of the central business district, the historic districts, all neighborhood conservation districts, a half-mile buffer around Port San Antonio and Brook City Base. Any city-initiated tax increment reinvestment zone was included in a half-mile buffer around those zones. So, it's safe to say that it really became a very large map. Basically, about 70% of anything inside Loop 410 is included. There's a chunk in between Loop 410 and 1604, and even just a little bit out of 1604. So it's not a citywide program, but I think it's safe to say maybe about half the city is in the vacant building zone. So, one thing that, a lot of times people will ask, is how does a property become subject to the ordinance? And I will always tell anyone who's calling in, because they're a property owner or a neighborhood association, 3 things must happen all at the same time in order for a structure to be subject to the vacant building ordinance. 1, it has to be in the program area, which is what I just discussed. 2, it has to be vacant for at least 30 days. And 3, it has to be below the minimum standard of care. What defines vacancy and what the minimum standard of care is, I'll get to it in just a moment. But just know that if a structure does meet all 3 criteria, registration is required at that point. When we identify a property to be vacant, we will ask the property owner to register. It's very easy to say go into the Bexar County Appraisal District and find out who owns 101 Main Street. But what we don't know is, how do we get a hold of John Doe, who owns 101 Main Street? What's his email address? What's his phone number? That was one of the main points of the registration document, was to get good contact information for property owners. And most importantly is to find out what is going on with this vacant structure. What's the action plan behind it? What's going on with it? That's one thing that the Vacant Building Program really, I think, shines above other vacant building, similar vacant programs in other cities is our whole purpose is revitalization and assisting property owners from getting point A to point Z in their revitalization efforts of these properties. It's not about fining people, threatening to take their properties away or anything like that. It's all about revitalization. Derek, you want to go ahead and flip real quick? So what is vacancy? This is always something that, especially from the property owner standpoint, they tend to get abandoned and vacant a little mixed up. Abandoned is kind of what it just sounds like. Abandoned is they've completely forgotten about the property. No one cares about it. No one's seen it in years. That's abandoned. Vacant, according to what we do, just means that all lawful activity, according to the zoned use of that property, has ceased for at least 30 days. So let's just take a single family dwelling unit, for example, single family property. You know, the purpose of a single family home is for someone to dwell there, to, you know, wash your clothes, cook food in the kitchen, sleep there, dwell there. Sometimes folks will call us and say, no, it's not vacant because I check on it once a month, cut the grass once a month, and I leave a porch light on. That is not the defined use of a single family property, okay? So we need to see lawful activity for the zoned use for at least 30 days. And then we would no longer consider it vacant. But besides the you know, just driving by and observing properties, we'll check utility usage. We'll go knock on doors, see if anyone's answering. And almost always, whenever we pull up to properties, you'd be surprised. The neighbors are usually pretty chatty, and they'll let us know what's going on with that property. Once we've reasonably determined that a property's been vacant for 30 days, we will feel that it has met that second criteria. Okay, so again, is it in the program zone? Criteria 1. Has it been vacant for 30 days? And that was criteria 3. Then we come to standard of care. Okay, the standard of care is, in my opinion, a very basic care for a property. It's very simple things, and we have a full list on our website. But just to quickly run through it, protective treatment, which is, you know, basically paint. You know, if you're standing from the public right of way, can you see chipped and peeling paint from the sidewalk? Is there premises identification on the property? Is the foundation in such bad condition that even someone with a trained eye would be able to stand at the public right of way and say, obviously this property has significant foundation damage? Are the exterior walls in bad repair? Is the envelope of the building in repair or not? Are there holes in the roof? The gutters work? Is the porch in good condition? The handrails, the porch roof, the balconies, are the windows and doors in good condition, or are they boarded up? Everything I just rattled off is probably about 85 to 90% of the defined standard of care. It's nothing too specific. It's nothing too complicated. It's basics. And anyone who is moving into a property would reasonably expect all these things to be in good working order. Those are the 3 criteria that will determine whether a property is subject to the vacant building ordinance. You want to flip real quick, Kate? So this is our process right here. As you can see here, property identification. This is really where Derek, you know, we really lean on Derek. Derek is the only defined person here who covers all 100 plus square miles of our zone every day and goes out there just doing surveys and observations of the properties and the neighborhood. So he goes out there, he'll identify properties, he'll bring them to our attention, and that's exactly what we'll do. We're going to observe it for 30 days. We're going to check utility records. We're going to make random stops. We're going to go knock on doors. We're going to take pictures. And after 30 days, if we determine that it's vacant, we go on to the next step, which is sending notice to the property owner. We're going to put a hang tag on the structure. And then we're going to send a letter to the registered property owner according to the Bexar County Appraisal District. Once the property owner has received that notification, they're going to have 90 days to register with us. And again, like I said, during that registration process, we're going to get that plan of action from the property owner. We're going to get their contact information. And our goal here is to get them to standard of care, or at the very least to reoccupy the property. If the owner fails to register in that 90-day window or just does not want to work with us, we will post a final notice on the property and send a letter in the mail. If they still don't come into compliance, legal proceedings against them can be made with the city attorney's office. And the way that would work, which is very different and unique about our program, is most code issues that come before a property owner, let's just say, for example, they had a junk car, they didn't want to cut their grass. The city will go ahead and take care of that issue for them, but then put a lien on that property. That can be pretty effective. But for someone who already is not taking care of their property and it's vacant and it's kind of been forgotten about, that may not be the best thing, because at that point, they may not care so much about liens being put on their property. So this ordinance was crafted a little bit different. Instead of liens being placed on a property, we go after the property owner specifically. We don't go after the property, we go after the property owner. So the different standard of care violations that I was talking about, if they were to have, say, 5 or 6 different standard of care violations, well, each violation carries a $500 fine, and it would go against John Doe specifically. So it would not be a lien placed on his property. He would have to go to municipal court and answer for those 5 or 6 violations that would be personally put against him. And if he doesn't show, if he's a no-show for court, those are 5 or 6 different warrants that would be placed on his record. Because of that, way we do things with the city attorney, if someone's not paying attention to us in the beginning, they certainly pay attention to us at the very end. And again, though, we usually don't like to go that far. It's all about revitalization for us. That's all. We will always stop the process as soon as a property owner says, okay, I hear what you're saying. I will make the repairs to the property. I'll sell the property. And whatever the compliance measure is, that's when we feel success. And when we see those before and after pictures of properties where, maybe it was left abandoned for a couple of years, but then all of a sudden, someone's living there again, the house is painted and looking beautiful and adding to the neighborhood character. That for us is what really makes our job worthwhile.
Thanks, John. Yeah, so as John sort of mentioned, I am the person responsible for all 116,000 parcels of the Vacant Building Program and responsible for all 40,000 alleged vacant structures within city limits. So how do I go about finding those is twofold, really. So I do block walking, just simple walking up and down the sidewalks there. And I look for indicators of vacancy. So some of those standard of care violations that John mentioned, as well as easier things like, mail piling up in the mailbox. There's some other when you see enough vacant buildings, you can kind of spot some tricks of the trade, if you will. And then we also look at vacancy data. So of course there's the Bexar County Appraisal District. Property taxes is a great indicator. If there's something that's on the edge and I think, well, it could be vacant, but I'm not really sure. And then I look into property taxes, and it's like 40,000 behind. It's usually a pretty good indicator that not only is the property vacant, but a neighbor usually has also been taking care of it. And so we also look at, DSD permits. USPS actually has a partnership with the survey software that I use. Land Grid is what it's called, if anybody is into GIS things. So we look at USPS vacancy yes/no data, and that basically just lets us know if mail is being delivered or not. And then also SAWS is another way to see if there's water usage at that property, and then we'll usually a pretty good indicator of vacancy. And then there's also reports. So we have the DSD service reports. We will get in what we would call an early warning report, where if something is being identified from a dangerous premise officer. They'll send it to us, and we'll usually go out there and just take a check because for the most part, as John mentioned, we're looking for revitalization or occupation, right? Not trying to be punitive at all times. We really have a singular goal, and it's those things. And so working with them can create sort of like a circuit breaker in that process, hopefully if we're effective. And then also there's resident and neighbor association reports. One of the things I do like to note here is having been in the business for quite some time, I understand that neighbor associations and neighbors as a whole, their reports can sometimes be they have other goals in mind, right? Sometimes there's like age-old vendettas being waged out through the city process. So we try to, take that into account. And then also in some cases, I'm not exactly for sure if it's like Beacon Hill, but some of the parts of the city that see more development pressure, like large firms will absolutely use the process to try to somewhat bully out property owners. So we try to be aware of that. We want to be equitable in our reporting processes. So usually try to do a little bit of research. As one person, there's only so much I can do when you're going up against certain forces, but I try to do my due diligence for neighbors that are worried about that, right? So I pulled some real quick Beacon Hill data. It's not by any means up to date as far as like March 8th, 2021, but pulling from the ACS, the American Community Surveys, it's a special estimation through the Census Bureau. So kind of on the tail end here, since it's been estimated for 9 years. But there's 2 zip codes really split here. 78201 has about an 11.5% vacancy, and then 212 has a higher vacancy, as you can see here, 18% if you round down, 18.47. The USPS vacancy data gives us a more, I would say, accurate representation, and that's the image that you see on your screen right now. That notes about 68 vacancies, and I, just real back of the napkin math, tried doing about 1,300 properties for the area within the defined area on your screen, and that would bring you to close to 5% vacancy. This is incredibly on the nose. This is the incredible average vacancy rate of San Antonio currently is 5%. If you use the San Antonio metro area, you can sort of get into New Braunfels in the wider range, and then you start to creep up to about 7-8%. And part of the reason for that is going to be because people who own property are generally on the north side of town that might be using it for seasonal uses, not necessarily 12 months out of the year. So the ACS does count that as vacant if you only have if you're I believe they're called snowbirds, you're coming down to enjoy some warm weather, which is very nice. I'm from Indiana, it can get chilly, I understand. Currently for the Beacon Hill area, we have 55 structures in the vacant building program inventory. From my perspective, this is pretty good. 55 out of an estimated 68 vacancies is very nice, very strong. It does show that either, we've surveyed the neighbor association in recent years, which we have. We're about 2 years out from a survey. We try to touch at least every 1 to 2 years. So you're probably due, honestly. Or, you're doing a good job of reporting. And I think, you got about 40 members here on the neighbor association call, pretty good. So I'm assuming you're a strong neighborhood association. So you're also getting those reports in. So as far as I'm concerned, pretty spot on, 5% vacancy, pretty good. I don't have more exact numbers than that at the moment. And just some resources here at the end. The website link's not too bad. You can always go check out information there. If you're interested in seeing what the program area looks like, all 116,000 parcels, you can go to that link there, tiny.cc/VBP map, and that will bring you to the city's GIS website. and then you could type in your address. You can see where you fit into that. If you're interested in reporting, you're going to have to go to the somewhat longer link here because it's a little bit buried in our website. But that's what the general contact page, and those reports go directly to me. So, you know, we'll start the research process there. And then also at the bottom is the direct emails for John, who again is the case manager for your area. And then the direct link to my email, who, you know, if you've got a report or you just want to know what's up with a certain structure, I can do that. You know, John's a busy guy also. So if it's just something that can be done pretty quickly, feel free to email me. I have not been looking at the chat. I apologize. So if there were questions, I somewhat missed them. But if somebody would like to read those out.
Don't see any questions. You got a couple enthusiastic hell yeah Derek's in there.
A fan.
I have a quick question. If somebody reports something, how is the 30 days determined? Would you take a neighbor's word that some place has been vacant, or does it need to be reported and you guys witness that yourselves?
It has to be by us or by a member of code enforcement, someone who's authorized to take photos of a property and enter them into our system. One of those, although, you know, we definitely tend to move those more towards the front of the pile if we can tell that, you know, it's a concern of the neighborhood association, it's a concern of the neighbors. And as Derek mentioned, it's usually pretty obvious if a property's been sitting in that condition for several years versus a week, you know.
Well, thank you, John and Derek, very much. And we will put your contact information out there so that if people have more questions, they can come to you. Thank you for attending our association meeting tonight. Thank you.
Thank you for having us. And I just want to add one last thing. You know, as Derek mentioned, we're a very small team and we have a very big area. I always encourage people, if you see vacant structures, please report them to us. You neighborhood association, you guys are the eyes and ears of your neighborhood. You will know your neighborhood better than we ever will. And if you don't report those to us, it may take us 6 months, a year, maybe even longer for us to discover them on our own, because the area that we look at and survey is so large. And so I think sometimes people may hesitate, like they don't want to report a vacant building, let the city worry about it. No, if something concerns you, please bring it to our attention so that we can address it.
Thank you.
There was a question from Marissa. What happens with elderly residents who can no longer live by themselves or have medical needs? I don't know how that applies to vacant housing.
Discuss that another time, I guess.
Yeah. Well, Marissa, we'll try to get back to you on that. I'm not sure anybody here has an answer because I think that's probably pretty complex, but we'll try to think about, yeah, adult protective services. Thank you. Thank you, sir. Okay, we have Cesar Martinez and Armando Hernandez requesting support on a variance to go before Board of Adjustment on a development on 1147 Ashby. Sirs, welcome, and you have about 5 minutes, 10 minutes to do a presentation, and then Zud will give the recommendation and we will have a short discussion and vote so that we can present that vote to Board of Adjustment.
Okay, well, thanks for having us. We've been working with you guys, particularly Cosima and Mark, on reviewing some of these plans that we've had. And I think would it be best if I try to share my screen so we could kind of illustrate the variance that we're looking for?
Sure.
I'm gonna try that to the best of my ability. Let's see how it goes. Let's see. Okay, I think it pulled up there.
Yep, we see it.
Okay, great. If you look towards the bottom of your screen, you'll see that is the frontage West Ashby. So we're addressed at 1147. And it is a multifamily zone property. We're not looking for any zoning variances. We're just simply looking for some building variances. And add 4, basically they would be considered condominiums. They would be single family dwellings. And I'm gonna try to highlight here specifically, I'm just trying to keep it brief, but specifically in the it talks about driveway and
I think we lost him.
Looks like it.
All right, hello. Hey, this is Cesar Martinez, and I'm with Armando on this project on West Ashby. So basically what we were trying to look for there is basically your variance to your driveway curve cut per residential lot, which is in accordance with your NCD guidelines. So as he displayed there, we're trying to, in essence, look for a variance to allow us to do a 2-cut to allow driveway and utilize the carporchy method that you all are referred to in your guidelines, which will allow for tandem parking and to eliminate impeding residents from parking on Grant Street as best as possible. So therefore eliminating the congestion on Grant Street, since the cuts will be basically off of Grant Street, but we're still addressing it based off of Ashby Street, since that is what is deemed by the city when we purchased the property. So as far as showing it, I can't show it because I'm on my phone, but we did share that with Cosimo and everybody. So I believe you all have been provided that documentation already. If not, I can see about trying to get that shared with you all. So right now, the variance that we are looking for is the cutout for the 2 properties, or for that, there you go, for the 2 cutouts right there off of Grant Street. And there would in essence be no more than approximately 24 feet. And then it will allow for parking underneath the carporchy, as well as a tandem parking behind that carporchy. So this is what we're in essence we're asking for, to try to eliminate any type of impediment of traffic, as well as proceeding with the project in front of you.
Thank you. Okay,
Cesar,
Mark?
I was just going to ask real quick. I can't tell from the design. Is there a sidewalk involved there?
Yes, by the city guidelines, we will still keep the sidewalk in place. Obviously, we'll have to do the encroachment off of the sidewalk in accordance with the city code and everything, but everything will remain in compliance with the city guidelines.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay, Mark Spielman is co-chair of ZUD. Mark, do you want to quickly give the ZUD recommendation?
Well, basically, this is a property that, is MF 33. They're allowed to provide, have multiple properties on this lot. When they first came to us, they had 4 separate buildings, and they've taken our recommendation from our NCD guidelines to put it all into one building. So as you see the front of it, I don't know, do we have a picture of the proposed outline?
It's on there.
We do have a picture of the way the elevation looked, but just keep in mind that elevation is not permanent due to the fact that we want to get past this drive cut situation first.
But it looks much cleaner and much more like we were hoping for. They've made a lot of concessions. This is the last concession that we've been working with them. They had 4 curb cuts initially, and we thought that was a little bit too much, to kind of expose the pedestrians to coming off there. This is a much less obtrusive and dangerous configuration that they've gotten for us. And it was one that, we feel is a compromise that we can live with. We're pretty much recommending that this is something that the neighborhood could deal with. We'd never like to, have our guidelines, taken for granted, and this contractor has not done that. They've been pretty good about working with the neighborhood and working with the issues that we saw initially. And this compromise is one that I think the neighborhood can live with.
Okay, thank you. Is there any discussion or questions? And let me remind you, it's almost 8 o'clock.
Mark, to the
Cynthia.
guideline. Go ahead, sorry.
I'd like to make a motion that the Beacon Hill Neighborhood Association support the recommendation made by our ZUD committee to support the variance requested and presented by the applicant.
I second that. That's great work, y'all. And thank you, Cesar.
Sean, did you have a question?
I was just curious for my own education. Is the normal allotment of curb cuts just a single one for their property? Is that the variance that's being made here?
Yes, that's
Gotcha.
exactly right.
Thank
In
you.
Beacon Hill, you're only allowed one curb cut per lot.
Good. Thank you.
Can we take a voice vote? And if there's anyone against it, we'll have to do a count. Sean, could you do that count if there's a count needed? If
Sure.
it's unanimous, okay. So we have a motion to support the applicant's request for a variance at 1147 West Ashby. All those in favor say aye.
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 All
Aye.
those who are
Aye.
opposed? Okay, it passes. Thank you, sirs, for coming and working with our neighborhood so diligently. We appreciate that effort. Thank you.
And thank you, Zed folks.
And so we'll write a letter at Board of Adjustment support.
Thank you, and I want to say we appreciate you all. And it's been a delightful working with you all, and we'll continue to be in compliance with you all and ensure that we keep the aesthetics of the neighborhood as best as possible. And we would love to continue to work this throughout the end process.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To hear that. Okay, so we're going to start to wind down. If we could keep the committee reports and updates by elected representatives really brief to be respectful of people's time. Kim, for animal care?
Nothing to report. I'm going to roll out that microchip program really pretty soon.
Okay.
Keep your eye out for that. I've got Joe Tick secured a donation of 60 microchips for the neighborhood. I know. And then the company that she referred me to, even their retail, their price is only $3 each. So even when we get to the point that we have to buy them, they're almost free. So,
Thank you,
so
Joe.
watch for that soon.
Okay, thank you. Arts and beautification, Brianna?
Nothing for me unless somebody wants to have their house spoken about. Reach out to me.
I love your idea about the haunted house. I think that would be a great social, is that we tell ghost stories about our houses.
I think that would be super fun.
Got that started on Facebook. Thank you. Benevolence Committee, Ms. Eller?
I'm gonna, excuse me, I'm gonna make my report short but sweet, because there is nothing more beautiful. I personally say this, there's nothing more beautiful than to see the expression on this person. I went and delivered the gift card to the lady, and I had a long visit with her. And they do need help and the support. And I did mention to her that I would continue to visit and follow. The child will be going to Edison High School this coming year. And I just want to thank the Beacon Hill Neighborhood Association for the care, the concern, the compassion that I can see in that association. I am grateful to God that I'm able to get around. I can drive, I can walk, and it was wonderful delivering the newsletters yesterday. I walked all the way down to the railroad tracks. I met quite a few people. And we have a wonderful, wonderful community if we all work together for one effort for the benefit of our communication and our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Eller. You continue to inspire us. Thank you. Community Garden, is Cassie, Chris, or Dara here?
It's actually Cheryl McAnally is now the new community garden steward, and so is Chris Spilker is the education
Right.
person. Cassie and Dara and all the gardeners are still here, and we're happy to have some new ideas coming in.
Did a lot of stuff die at the community garden from the freeze?
Yes, yeah, we do have quite a bit of work to do. We do have our work day coming up on March 20th from 9 to 11. So we definitely need some help cleaning up all of the dead plants out there. And then we are also going to have a free workshop on March 27th from 9 to 11 as well. It's going to be on planting and caring for spring veggies. And that's from EcoCentro. So we'd love to see y'all out there.
Thank you. And thank you for stepping up. It's always wonderful when new residents come and they're willing to step up and help our neighborhood. So thank you.
Oh, definitely. Yes.
Thank you. Heart of the neighborhood, Daniel.
Apparently someone stole my thunder and made all the announcements. So I'm not sure I have anything to talk about.
Just tell us one more time some of the events that are coming up.
Yeah. So movie nights this Saturday at 7:15. Is that what we ended up with? 7:15. We're getting it right before the time changes, and it's going to go a lot later. So hopefully won't rain. There's a chance of rain this Saturday, but we've been lucky so far, so hopefully not. And then the following Friday, we're going to have a neighborhood happy hour at the Metzger Beer Garden at Cool Crest. Nice big space, so we can talk to each other from distances, but sort of shout. And Stone Bros, the neighborhood pizza truck, is gonna be there making food. So hope everyone can come to one or the other or both. And if not, we're hoping we can do a movie maybe every other month this summer. So, and if you've got any other ideas for social events for the neighborhood, let me know.
Thank you. Thank you, Daniel. Mark or Cosima, have you got a ZUD report quickly? Nope. Okay. I know that we need ZUD volunteers, and so the meetings are the third Monday of the month. So I hope that some of you will be inspired to come attend and help out with some of the zoning and urban design decisions that are so important to our neighborhood. So, and let me remind you that zoning, ZUD, or our board does not make decisions for the neighborhood. We facilitate those decisions by our neighborhood. So thank you. Okay, so brief updates by elected representatives. I'm going to ask the same favor I did of the committee folks. We're running a little bit late. Please be as brief as possible. So do we have, I know we have Sidell Brooks or Sidell Brooks. Sidell, do you have anything you'd like to?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Cynthia. Just really briefly, hey, everyone, I'm Sidell. I'm your District 1 liaison with Councilman Trevino's office. I know we have quite a people with Beacon Hill that volunteer, so I wanted to offer this opportunity. I put it in the chat. We actually just heard about it, but we'll be partnering with an allergy clinic tomorrow. It's at 341 West Hildebrand. There's 2 shifts, one from 8:30 to 12:30. The other one from 12:30 to 4:30. And I guess we are helping with vaccinations. So if you would like to come and greet people and thank them for coming and getting vaccinated, you're welcome to come and assist however you feel fit, however long you feel fit. And that information is in the chat.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
We've been trying to. Huh?
Oh. So
Oh.
Annalise, are you here?
Yes, I'm
Oh,
here.
I had a little bit more, just
He's
really
got a
quick.
little
Oh,
more.
wait, and I'm sorry, Sidel was still speaking. I'm sorry, Sidel.
Sorry, I'm almost done. Just wanted to tell you all, we've been just helping people deal with the winter storm and the aftermath. We're still distributing food and water to mostly senior folks. And then if you know anyone that needs help with resources like pipe repair, how to apply for FEMA, we're also helping with that. Thank you.
We've been trying to post all the information that you've been sending from your office, you and State Senator Menendez and Bernal. We've been posting that on our Facebook and in our newsletter. So thank you for the information. Okay, Ana Alicia.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Yes. So just want to give y'all a quick update. Senator Menendez is still traveling up and down back and forth, excuse me, to Austin. Last week, there were several hearings, and the week before following the winter storm. So if you watched any of that, right, he sits on the committee, Business and Commerce, that has been listening to the testimony. If you have any stories that you want to share, please feel free to contact us. If you want to highlight any real stories, because this is going to be an uphill battle to protect the rights of consumers. So just want to let you know about that. If y'all have any questions about it, also we're letting people know about FEMA vaccines. If you have questions about how to access vaccines, we cannot get you an appointment, but we can send you the information on where you can sign up. And there's a lot of resources for that. You can contact our office, it's in the chat. Also, this Friday is the last day to file bills or file any budget requests. So if anybody is looking at filing as a neighborhood association, tier 1 group, have any concerns about legislation, please, or bills, you're welcome to contact us. April 14th is the deadline to update your vehicle title and registration. There was a waiver because of the pandemic that has changed. So just want to let you know about that. And then also Senator Menendez is having weekly town halls called Capital Connection. I'll put that in the chat. If you can call in, you can go via Zoom, you can see it Facebook Live. You're welcome to participate, ask questions. It's just, he gives a quick update and then he answers questions from the audience. That's it for me. I hope everybody's well. Feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ana Alicia. So do we have Bethany Gutierrez from State Representative Diego Bernal in?
No, that will be me. I will be taking over from now on for Bethany, which is Angelique.
Angelique, okay. I'm
Yes.
sorry, you told us that before. Thank you.
No problem. I just overview for what everyone has said, that one before me. So if you guys need any help regarding to like food assistance or housing, feel free to get in touch with us so we can guys help you guys. And also wanted to let you guys know that the Representative Bernal is part of the Public Affairs Committee, as well he is still a member of the Public Education Committee as well. And starting tomorrow, there will be a meeting on the floor about public education. If you guys want to attend it and see how it goes, I'm gonna leave the link in the chat as well. And also, leave my contact information. If you guys have any concern regarding to like unemployment, access ID, just feel free to get in touch with me, and that will be all.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. So is Bernadette here from Congressman Doggett's office? Okay. So,
right here. Yeah. Hello. Yes, nice to be here with everyone. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm Bernadette Armendariz. I'm the field representative for Congressman Doggett's San Antonio District Office. So we're going to make it short and sweet. Recently, the House Ways and Means Health Subcommittee held a 3-hour hearing. It was on February 26th. It was over making the most of the vaccine shot and the path forward on COVID-19 immunizations. During the hearing, the congressman expressed concerns over the outrageous fact that not all frontline healthcare workers have had access to the COVID-19 vaccine. Sorry, it's my puppy. people are waiting for hours on the phone trying to secure an appointment. And the state designated mass vaccination sites called hubs, and they're in the wealthier areas. So the Congressman filed the Taxpayer Research and Coronavirus Knowledge Act, TRACK Act, as a strong new oversight rule to disclose how billions of public health funds are being used in COVID-19 research and vaccine development. And I do want to make sure that everyone is signed up to receive the Congressman's updates. So I'm going to go ahead and drop the sign-in sheet here. And I'm also going to drop the link to look up more information on the TRACK Act right there. Nope, that didn't do it. 1 second. Sorry about that. And here we go. Boom. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Just before we go, I appreciate your patience. We have two people that want to say something really quickly. One is Jordan Gowie wants to talk about state legislation. He's been watching it. Jordan?
Yeah, thanks, Cynthia. So as was mentioned earlier, the last day to file a bill is this Friday. So far in both chambers, we've had 4,446 bills filed. Tier 1 Neighborhood Coalition constantly maintains an awareness of what bills are being filed to see which bills may or may not affect neighborhoods. As of right now, this session's pretty muted in terms of bills pertaining to neighborhoods, with maybe 5 or 6 bills so far. One's about speed limits in cities, bringing it to 25 miles per hour for city streets for cities over 950,000 people, and also decreasing speed limits in alleys. The rest are a lot of ad valorem tax bills, but there's just too many of those to list right now. But the good news is, unlike the 86th session, we don't see a lot of bills that are putting neighborhoods in the crosshairs, especially when it comes to designation for historic or building materials, stuff like that. So we're looking pretty good this session, with just a few days left for filing.
Thank you, Jordan. I know we had some bills last session that did us some harm, so I'm glad to hear that. I also, Daniel, I know you want to talk quickly about newsletter advertising.
Right. So as you all may or may not know, the newsletter, Beacon Hill newsletter, is fully supported by its advertising. And we have slots for maximum of 10 ads. That's stayed pretty full for quite some time, and we're even on a wait list for quite a while. That's shifted lately, and we actually have some slots opening up. So if you are interested in advertising in the newsletter or know someone who might be, please let me know, and we'll get something going there so we can keep bringing you those newsletters every month.
Thank you. And I'd also like to make a plea that if you can deliver newsletters, even if it's just on your block, we are really desperate for newsletter delivers. I know those of us that get a lot of extra blocks every month. And if you could just do one block, it would be a real help to the neighborhood. So I think with that, we're going to adjourn. Thank you, everybody, for staying 15 minutes after our usual hour. It was a good meeting. Thank you, everybody, and be well.
Susan wants to say something. Susan?
No, Jack is trying.
Oh, Jack, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
We can.
Yes. Okay, just a final note of thanks to everyone who donated their time and effort during the big freeze we had. Thank you, thank you, thank you for helping out your neighbor, helping out those you didn't know. In any small way you did so, you encouraged our people to, with hope, to keep on going through the big freeze we had for that 2 or 3 day bad period. Thank you once again.
Hear, hear.
I second that. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Jack. Yeah, they did amazing work.
So the meeting is adjourned. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Take care, y'all.
Be
Good
safe.
night, babies and cats.
Good night.
And doggies. Good night.
Baby, good night.
That baby is so sweet.